Pat Kataka here. Today, I want to talk about a subject that's not comfortable: creation and the Bible. First of all, I want to say that the story in Genesis is an allegory. It's about creation and evolution, how everything came into being. Also, they use people because we are people, Adam and Eve, and we can relate to it. Adam represents intellectual thinking, state of mind, and Eve represents intuition, intellect and intuition. Also, we want to talk about energy. The God, as we know, is not Jesus. God is energy, universal energy. Negative, the components that make up universal energy is both negative and positive. Is represented by Adam and Eve. Is symbolic of the energy. In the scriptures, when God said, "Let us make man out of our image," us is the energy, the negative and positive energy that makes up the universal energy, which we call God. And in the beginning, this energy moved upon itself in creation, because all action in the universe take place from the action of two opposing forces, both positive and negative, male and female, and that creates, and everything's created from thought. Most of the stories in the Bible are allegories. They have deeper hidden meanings and messages for us to be better human beings. It was written like that on purpose. It's the greatest mystery ever written, and there are tons of clues for us to solve the mystery. And if I could just get everybody to just hold up for a minute and just start to think about what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, then you'll be able to solve these mysteries. God showed me the clues to solve the mysteries. That's why I know the answers to understanding life as I do, because God showed it to me firsthand. And as far as understanding and knowing goes, you have to get the clues to solve the mystery. Once you solve the mystery by means of all the clues, then the Bible takes on a whole nother meaning and a whole nother understanding, and it makes sense. There are a lot of things in the Bible that are contradictory, and it doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to, because it's a mystery. Those are clues for you to solve. Once you solve the allegory in Genesis, you'll know which stories to take literal and which stories are not to be taken literal, because you understand what it's talking about. You understand the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You understand those are behaviors that we humans make. And when we don't want to take responsibility, then man that wrote it to deceive us came up with the idea of a devil. There is no devil. There's a primitive mind, your lower animal self that was created in the beginning so you could survive until the world became to the point where everything was discovered, where we could live. Things had not been developed yet, so development of the world had not happened yet. We had not evolved to that state yet. That's why we have to go through the states of evolution. The actual evolution starts in the womb when you're first conceived. And that's another thing about the world. Conception is when the sperm and egg, you have to have a sperm and egg. It is not magic, it's not hocus pocus. You have to have a presence of a sperm and egg for conception. And on the soul level, we choose our entrance into the world, which means we choose our avenue, the parents that we have. We choose them, and when we get ready to leave this world in the so-called death, we choose our avenue for our exit out of this world, because shedding the body is not death. Shedding the body is death of the body, but not the death of us, because you are invisible spirit, which was never born and can never die. And these are things that people don't tell you. They tell you you're going to go and be with God. That's not true. What you're going to do once you shed the body, you realize the mistakes you made and the things you got to do, so you make a choice to continue your learning until a time where you can come up with the energy that you need to come back, to reincarnate with a new body, same soul, new body, to continue your life and continue correcting issues in the soul. Each lifetime is for the idea to correct issues in the soul from past behavior of lifetime, not just this lifetime, but all the lifetimes you had since the beginning of humanity. Which brings me to another point. As you do this, you become your spirit. As you correct issues in the soul and make yourself pure again, free of all the delusions and things that made you appear to be separated from God, you come back to your God self. And that's the only time pure in your energy can connect back with God, when you're made pure again from the inside. As long as there's tainting energy, issues in the soul that has to be resolved, you will never connect with God. You will keep incarnating until you figure it out. Once you figure it out and start to stay awake, and you start to figure stuff out, and then life starts to make sense as you unravel the mysteries. Another thing I want to talk about is the virgin birth. There is no virgin birth. All these stories in the Bible are allegories for control, power, greed, and to make the Caucasian race the superior over all. This stuff was orchestrated by the rich elite people in power who ran the world at the time. they had it written like this so you would never figure it out. If you can't figure it out because you can't think, you weren't allowed to, then you just go through life making mistakes, and that's how they make billions of dollars off you every day because you're ignorant to understanding how life works. Nobody died, nobody's coming, and there is no virgin birth. And these are the things that religion has been founded on: lies, secrets, manipulations, underhanded tactics, psychological dramas, greed, deception, manipulations, brainwashing, and a whole lot of ills that has created the reality that we live in, which is a false reality. And this is why it's time for these truths to be revealed to the world. The story of the virgin birth is an allegory. It's talking about integrity. And Joseph, Jesus' father, could not be a righteous man if he was lying. So he knew that he was married to Mary at the time. But for the benefit of the story, they come up with the idea of a virgin birth to fool people and to deceive people. There is no virgin birth. Yeah, Mary was pregnant by Joseph, her husband, because she was married to him at the time. If you take your time and read that story, it tells you all the clues, and you have to just be smart enough to put them together and use your logic and reasoning skills. She was pregnant by Joseph because he was her husband. That's why he couldn't have her put away, because why would he put her away? She was his wife, and he couldn't be a righteous man if he lied and pretended that she was not his wife just for the sake of a story. So you have to pay attention to what this story is saying. And Jesus did not die on the cross to save anybody from anything. Jesus was a very sensible man and would never have considered doing something like that because he knew it wouldn't have been the truth. That's the whole purpose of the crucifixion, to let you know that there is no death. So we must stop doing all kinds of evil and error because you have to atone for your mistakes. No, he did not die for your mistakes. The only person that's paid for your mistakes is you. And there is no devil. People tell you there's a devil. There's no devil. There's a primitive mind, which is your lower animal self. Your lower animal self, which is the self that you were created from in the beginning because you had to survive on the land until you had evolved enough to be able to have proper stuff to make life better for you. Understand nothing had been developed at that point until we could come into development of stuff to make the world work. So we could survive from our lower self. But the whole idea is to come here as our lower self, but with the divine spark in us to raise up to our higher divine self, which is our God self. That animal consciousness, the lower animal consciousness, that's a part of our anatomy that encourages wrong behavior, bad behavior, and this lives inside each individual. And this is why Jesus said, "It's done as you believe." This is the thought process. And he tells us that I myself do nothing. He tells you, I'm the man, I'm just like you, I don't do these things, but there's something in you that's greater than you that does the work, and that's called the Christ. And that's in everybody. And Christ comes from the Greek word christos, which means God in man, the anointed one, the highest of finest, and that's each and every one of us. We're all God created in human form. So no, Jesus, he's not telling you to follow him, he's telling you to follow the Christ inside you, follow God inside you. But you got to be aware of what he's talking about instead of taking his stuff literal. Why would he tell you to follow him? A lot of people say, well, Jesus has been gone for over 2,000 years, prepare a place for me. So there's nothing to prepare. Your preparations done while you're here on the earth playing with the body. The invisible world is just that invisible. There's nothing to repair because everything is invisible. So there's nothing to repair, and nobody told you that. So when you start thinking about what Jesus said, what Jesus did, he came to remind you of a truth that you had forgotten. And the reason he could remind you of this truth because he went through the experience to understand life at the highest level of the Christ consciousness, so he could connect with that part of himself and tell you that it was inside you so you could connect with that part of yourself as well. And we're so busy thinking that Jesus died for us to come back and say, well, we're not even paying attention to what he really told us. He never died. He never said that. And because he knows that he could not die for you, nobody can die for you and come back and pick you up and take you anywhere. Because you have to understand how life process, non-death of the soul, evolution of the soul, past lives of the soul, and reincarnation of the soul. And if you read in the story Ecclesiastes, I'm not sure which chapter, which verse, but it tells you about the silver cord. Our souls are housed in our bodies through an invisible silver cord that's connected to the universe. Once that cord breaks, we experience death of the body. As long as that cord does not break, we can be in our body, out of our bodies, and we're still very much alive. Jesus understood this. That's why he said there is no death, because we don't die. We just change forms and we continue to live. We go back into, when you shed the body, we're back into our invisible state, which is the truth of who we really are. Invisible souls, invisible spirit. That's why they call it the Holy Ghost. It's invisible because it's sacred, because it's holy, and it's invisible because it's a ghost. You can't see it. And that's why Jesus also tell you he had never seen the Father. Nobody has seen the Father. And if he was the Father, he couldn't say that. So they go to show you another thing. He is not the Father. The Father is the Christ mind that lives in each one of us. He also tell you in Matthew that you would not find, I'm not sure, is this Matthew, which chapter is it, but I know, but in the scriptures he tells you that you would not find God in a temple. That's because most people don't understand who God is and how God works and what it is. It's energy. It's not a person. But he does tell you in Matthew that many man will deceive you. And he said, man, he's talking to the disciples at the Mount of Olives. He said, many will come in my name, telling you that I am the Christ, and will deceive many. He's telling you right there that he's not God. And if somebody tell you he's God, they'll deceive you because he is not God. Like I said, God is invisible spiritual energy without form until it take the form of you, me, in the physical universe. And when God made man, he divided himself into two. He gave half of himself male and half himself female. That's why that union is the marriage that takes place when heart and mind marry, intuition, intellect becomes one. It comes back together as one. And in relationship, that's why you pick the opposite of yourself to complete the union. Females are the female part of God, and males are the male part of God, but it's all one together. And should you be in these are life principles: male and female, masculine, feminine, up and down, right and wrong. And this is when you have to put negative and positive. And this is our energy. And so to complete the whole of God, you have to connect these energies together and use them together as one. Because when you use them together as one, the balance from both, the wisdom from both of those two states of mind gives you balance in your life. When you use them separately, it wreaks havoc, because you can do everything from a positive side or everything from a negative side. But if you don't have the wisdom to show you the difference, then you would create nothing but havoc. So they must be used together. And that's symbolic of using together as one. That's symbolic of eating from the tree of life, when everything is done from love and peace and beauty and joy and inspiration and illumination and trust and truth and wisdom and strength and knowledge and power and oneness with God. When you use them separately, that's the symbolic of eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, when everything is done in anger and resentment and hatred and lust and slothfulness, laziness, and all the negatives that we do in life to harm and hurt each other, steal and kill from each other, because this is not God. We are misusing the principles of life. And this is what Jesus was trying to convey to us when he said, I myself do nothing, is a follow within that do the work. That's the energy inside you that breathes your body, that walks your body, that talks your body, that eats your food. That's what we call God. Nobody's ever seen God because it's invisible. It's energy. You can't see energy. And energy was never born. It was never died. It just is. It's just been a part of the universe, which is eternal spirit. And you have to understand these things. And to the degree we start to understand higher learning, we become better human beings, because we know that nobody died, nobody's coming, and that there is no devil. The only devil is us doing error in our own lives. And the primitive mind is our lower God, our lower self, that from the negative side, that encourages bad behavior. So this is why we have to understand these laws and principles, and we have to understand how we've been lied to. We've been lied to for control, power, because they make billions of dollars daily from us, from our ignorance to understanding how life works. And the way they wrote the Bible, they wrote it so we would not figure it out. But God wants us to know these things. That's why he revealed this stuff to me. That's why I'm telling you these things. No, Jesus didn't die. He ain't coming back. It's impossible, because it goes against principle, because nobody can die for you and come back to pick you up and take you anywhere. It's just a physical impossibility. And God's words is unchangeable. It doesn't change. It's no respect of person. These are laws. Lord in the universe means law, spiritual laws, universal laws, principles to follow. And when we don't follow these laws and principles and stuff, we misuse the information. We misunderstand what's going on, and we mistake what God is showing us, and we misuse the principles. And that's how the people want it. That's why they did it like that. They want us not to understand, not to wake up, not to spiritually awaken, because as long as we can stay spiritually dead, they can control us, control our behavior, control everything that we're doing, and we just kind of walk around in darkness, the blind and lead the blind. And this is not God's promise for us. That's man's efforts to deceive us and to keep us blind, so because he feels that that's the only way he can make his money is by misusing people to do the wrong thing. Because if they wanted to heal this world and let us know, they would just tell us the truth, because the truth is here, and it's always been here. But because men have a need to control everything and be greedy and have all the power, they just hid it from us, and then we have to wake up and figure out this stuff out for ourselves, because they're not going to ever tell you. And I'm telling you because I know you're not going to figure it out. And this is the hard stuff. Most people don't want to talk about this kind of stuff, because this is the hard truth. We've been used and misused, and the hard truth has been deceived from us, because the world was built with lies, secrets, manipulations, underhanded and stories written in allegories, myths, metaphors, so we're not figured out. But God showed it to me because he wants to know his truth. And if you love God, strong enough and long enough, he'll whisper his secrets to you because he wants us to understand what's going on, not to be deceived by man in their greed for, and power hungry self. So just know that God got you, and he works through me. He's been working with me for a long time, and I've been knowing this truth for a long time. And no matter when I try to tell people, they just don't want to believe it, because they rather believe that you die and go to heaven than believe that no, you don't. When you shed that body, you're not dead and you will never die, and you're in the invisible world still learning and taking classes and making yourself better so you can incarnate and come back and be a better human being in your next lifetime. And everything you do right now preparing you for the avenue and the experience you will incarnate through the next time you come around, because you have to understand that everybody is created equal, but everybody's not born equal. And this is the beauty of life, and understanding that this beauty of life, that you can only get what you deserve. What you deserve is what kind of work you put in to get what you need to have in life. But everybody needs to become conscious. When you do start become conscious or understanding how life works, then you make yourself better, because you want to do the right thing, because you know that you ain't dying. You ain't getting out that easy. Ain't nobody dying. So realize that you don't die because you shed your body. You just end that cycle of your life because you misused it, abused it, stepped out of it for whatever reason. It doesn't work anymore. In those service you anymore, so you steps out of it because you're ready to start a new beginning. When you shed that body, you just keep your learning going to such time when you had an opportunity to find the energy or connect with energy and come back from where you left off your last time and continue your soul growth and your soul evolution. And this is how life works. And it's time for all of us to wake up and understand this and stop doing all the foolishness, stop playing into the hands of the people in charge and power that's lying to us for their own narrative to make life better for them, because they figure if they was such good people and so perfect and so superior, they won't have to resort to all the negative, treacherous things they do to get ahead in life. They want you to know nothing and be nothing and do nothing so they can stay superior. But that time is up. God has said, no, I've had enough of this. And I want my children to know that they are me in human form. I am the visible you. You are the invisible me. It's time to understand this practice and understand it and then grow from it.